and I am here to talk about my course redesign initiative. My project was using technology to create an active learning experience for my physiological psychology course. And so first, I wanted to say a few things about physiological psychology. So physiological psychology is one of the core courses for the completion of the undergraduate degree in psychology. And it's a very STEM-heavy course. And so one of my goals is to help them understand how we know what we know in physiological psychology. So I want them to understand the methodologies for data collection in this field. And so for my project, I've created a reduced seat active course for data collection. So the active part, we will gather to collect data using physiological methods like GSR and EEG. And also I've created a personalized adaptive learning module, or some modules there for data analysis. And so we will talk about both of these components. So the first component is data collection using the iWorks TA system. And so I have a link here handy for people who want to read more about this system. But here, as you can see, it comes with all of the software and technology and hardware to collect data from these physiological measures. So you can probably see here we've got blood pressure, we've got a spirometer, and all kinds of things. And so for my class, we use EEG and GSR and pulse, heart rate, a lot of those different things. And so what's nice about this system is it comes with pre-made lab instructions from the company. And so for the lab that I'm going to talk about today is the Stroop test. And so the company gives, some pretty thorough instructions on how to run that lab in your class. But I'm also attaching my own kind of overview sheet that I give to the students as well. And so it is a portable system, but it's very heavy, so I wouldn't recommend walking around with one of these things. But it does include all of the elements and software for data collection. And I would also say that students have to download the software onto their computers, which sometimes can create some technical difficulties. But hopefully not too many there. And so here's a screenshot of what they see as they're collecting data. So here on the left is the data they get from the iWorks software as they're running the data, taking the Stroop test. And so the top panel here is their pulse. The middle is the galvanic skin response. And the bottom is their heart rate. And so I should say that this isn't any student's data. This is from the website. And over here is what in my class they turn in. And so they turn in an Excel sheet. They run 2 participants. And so each session is 4 trials. So each participant has 4 trials, and they return to me the data for 2 participants in 2 trials. And then when I get all of their data, I combine all the class data into one big data file, which I then post, and then each group has to analyze the data using SPSS. And so here is some pictures and videos of students gathering data for the Stroop test. Some of these are videos, so you can look at these later if you'd like. All the students gave me permission to use their photographs and videos for this particular presentation. So that's the data collection process. Now for the data analysis process, I've created personalized adaptive learning modules. I've created these modules generally for my statistical methods in psychology class. So I'll be implementing those in that class next semester. But I've adapted some of these modules for the physiological psychology class because not everyone has had statistical methods in psychology. And so these modules will cover basic statistical principles, statistical tests, and the computer programs we use for data analysis. And so why personalized adaptive learning instead of just, putting out a lecture on statistical analysis? Well, the reason is that, as I've said before, some students have already had statistics, but others have not. So right there, they're kind of coming in with different backgrounds. But even if the students have had statistics, they have varying levels of comfort with some of the basic statistical principles. Particularly sometimes they're unsure about the statistical tests they have to use, or how to save data from SPSS, from the SPSS data from UCF apps. And so here, like I said, there's varying levels of comfort. So some students, have really absorbed this and have no problem, and other students are very uncomfortable with some of this basic knowledge. And so the personalized adaptive learning modules allows me to fully cover what each student needs without spending a whole lot of time in class on what students have already learned and they're comfortable with. So we have student A who has had statistics but really was never comfortable with SPSS and needs to spend a lot of time reviewing that. Student B, maybe is fine with the technology but never really understood or is really comfortable using the statistical tests, especially distinguishing between subjects and within subjects. And then we've got student C who understood it all and has no problem. Here, student C can just sort of fly through the modules and take the tests and not have to spend a whole lot of time reviewing that information. Student A can spend a lot more time with the technology aspect, where student B can spend a lot more time with the statistical tests. So I can also see from the analysis and realize it whether or not students are understanding what I expect. I can see how long they're spending on these modules, and of course how they're doing on the assessments, and so that's another advantage for me. And so this is one of my learning maps for my statistics modules. Not all of these modules are necessary, I don't think, for physiological psychology, but here's kind of the general plan. We've got the basic math module up here, which includes things like rounding and negative numbers, exponents. We've got the basic equations here, which includes order of operations and basic mathematical symbols. Down here we've got basic charts and graphs, which includes histograms, scatter plots, and frequency distributions. And down here we've got the basic spreadsheet modules, which includes Excel, and the one I'm going to go over with for this review, which is SPSS. And so some of the relevant nodes that I'll use for physiological psychology include SPSS, Excel, and choosing the correct statistical test. And so this node in particular will review SPSS from everything from what it is, how to install and open on UCF apps, exploring the different interfaces, entering, analyzing, and saving data and output. So that is generally what I have done for this course review, for this course redesign, and I'm including all of the modules and information as well. So thank you very much, and that's the end of my presentation.